Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Cop Council. How are we all? Hopefully, all of you are having a good Thursday, wherever you are around the world. Thank you very much for tuning in. Of course, we do have a very special guest, obviously, Mr. Dan Clubb from the Red Men TV. Dan, how are we? Hopefully, doing well.
Yes, mate, I'm all good, thanks. Nice one for inviting me on, first and foremost. Always appreciate it. Always good to talk about Liverpool. Apologies for any noise you can hear in the background. That is the washing machine, which I'm sure will stop any moment. Let's just see what happens. So, yeah, I can only apologise for that. But, yeah, nice one again, mate. I'm looking forward to it.
Absolute pleasure. And look, guys, if you guys got any questions for Dan as well, then please do leave them in the comment section down below. Of course, obviously, we'll kick stuff off, Dan. Of course, speaking on transfers. Of course, obviously today, Luis Diaz once again getting linked to Barcelona of all things. Yet again, it's one of these stories that hasn't gone away this summer. Obviously, I think he's been linked constantly, hasn't he, with a move out of the football club, of course. But this time it seems a bit more concrete, of course, with Barca not going for Nico Williams. But what's your thoughts on Luis Diaz? Could you see him leaving the football club now, or do you think it's a bit too late in the window for Liverpool to move past Luis Diaz?
Yeah, I don't think it's too late, purely because we know of Liverpool's admiration, fondness, interest, whatever you want to call it, I guess, really, in Anthony Gordon. And I think that being so strong and that being so well documented as well, I'm not sure there would ever be such a thing as too late in the window at this point. Maybe literally deadline day, the day before deadline day, might be that. But I think right now, if Barcelona were to arrive with serious money for Luis Diaz, I think Liverpool would definitely consider it. And I think that the line and the wording around Diaz all summer has been quite interesting. I've picked up on it a few times. I spoke to James Pearce right at the start of the summer, and it hasn't really changed since. It was like Liverpool aren't actively looking to sell Luis Diaz, but that doesn't suggest that they're not open to offers either. And the fact that that kept getting mentioned really made me think, okay, if Barcelona were to get serious, were to get concrete, to use that very transfery phrase, then all of a sudden I think Liverpool would entertain it. And that's kind of where we're at now, of course. Of course, we know about his dad's interest in him going to Barcelona at some point. That's been well documented. And also, I think, we've had this with Philippe Coutinho. We had it to a lesser extent with Luis Suarez. If to us, Liverpool fans, Liverpool is the final destination. Liverpool is the be-all and end-all. Like, why would you ever want to leave Liverpool? But the South Americans, often it is Barcelona, it is Real Madrid. That is their dream move. That's where they've always wanted to be and all that sort of stuff. So it's not a huge shock that this doesn't really go away and never really has. And again, I think where we are now, Liverpool will be more than comfortable with their lot because we've seen what they did against Sevilla, of course, on the weekend. I think there's definitely a role to be played by Luis Diaz this season if he is here. However, if Barcelona were to arrive with that 60, 70 million pounds mark money, where Barcelona are getting that from, I'm not quite sure. But if that did happen, I actually think Liverpool would entertain it because wherever you think Anthony Gordon's an upgrade on Diaz immediately, that's a different conversation. And it's kind of down to opinions as well. But in terms of like ceiling, in terms of the player he could become, Diaz kind of is what he is now. He could make some slight improvements this season under Arne Slot, maybe. But Anthony Gordon feels like he's got loads more to come. So I think Liverpool, again, my overriding point on it is Liverpool will definitely be entertaining and definitely be interested, providing the proper money was there, really.
Yeah, no, 100%. I think you mentioned it there in terms of, where on earth are Barcelona going to get the money from? Because I think one of the words that came out earlier on was, of course, Barcelona looking at, different metrics to potentially get up to the price tag, which again we all know what that is. It's like, buy one and get somebody for free in about 5 years time. But it is an interesting one because obviously they've got players on their books that again they haven't really brought in terms of, again, like João Cancelo, João Felix. They haven't brought them in as of yet, and I think they're about to sell Victor Roque as well after I think Xavi brought him in, and that hasn't really worked out. But I think you are right also in that sense that, again, Liverpool have options that we could go for. The obvious one is of course Anthony Gordon, that a lot of people would have done in the summer. For me, I think Liverpool should go and get Anthony Gordon anyway. Doesn't matter about, again, whether Luis Diaz stays. But again, it's like we've already got Gakpo there. We've got we've got Lucho. It's one of these things where you're overcrowding just one position when we need, again, many others.
No, absolutely that. Yeah, a new left winger would not be my priority of any stretch of imagination. I'd be getting the DM, the 6, the deep line midfielder sorted as a massive urgency, and that seems paramount really. I'd be getting another top class centre half in as well, and I'd then be addressing the backup to a Mo Salah. To be honest with you, that understudy, the lad who would take some minutes off him. I guess the argument for going and getting Anthony Gordon would be he's going to be a brilliant player if he isn't already. His record speaks for itself in terms of what he did last season for Newcastle, certainly against the top 6. So there's a lot of ticks against his name. The fact he's a red and is clearly open to the move is a big tick, especially when you consider what happened recently with somebody else over in the Basque region. There's a lot to like about the Anthony Gordon deal. However, the fact he is predominantly an out-and-out left winger doesn't lend itself to something Liverpool should be doing. But also, you could maybe... Now, I'm not in love with this idea. I hate the idea of just putting a player somewhere just to kind of make do, and putting Diaz to right wing a little bit to take the burden off Salah. Yeah. Same with Jota. It works. It's fine. But is that something we really want to be doing? Is fine good enough? Probably not. So I would be... If I'd be going 1 in, 1 out on the left wing, let's say Diaz was to leave, and I like leaving Diaz, but let's say that did happen, and we went and got Gordon, fine. And then I'd be definitely addressing the fact that Ben Doak could still leave, so we definitely do not have a backup to Mo Salah, which is crazy, really. When you consider, we know Salah's been more or less bulletproof when it comes to injuries, apart from last season, of course, back end when he picked up 1, and then that kind of a recurrence of a thing happened. But we want him to remain that way for the course of the season. I'm asking him to play week in, week out, 90 minutes, certainly with demands of the Champions League as well. And that could be said for the whole squad as well in certain departments. But that feels like you're on a little bit behind and often. Like, would we be shocked if Salah had 1 or 2 more problems this season? If that is the case, I don't think it will be. So, yeah, there's a lot more to be done before we end up stockpiling left wingers, let's put it that way.
Yeah, like it would be nice on a Football Manager, but again, that's not real life, so we can't do that. Anyway, but no, I think you are right. Of course, you know, it's obviously it's a big season for Mo in another department, but we'll get onto that in a moment. But I think you are right in the sense, again, like, look, obviously that gaping hole is obviously a defensive midfielder, and I think, look, we'll get onto it in a minute, but I think you are right in terms of Mo. Like, again, towards the back end of last year, did suffer a little bit after that injury, never recovered, and you don't know with that type of injury again this season. Again, Mo Salah looks ripped and he looks Mo Salah in that aspect, but again, we don't know the difference that it's going to make in terms of, is he going to produce another 30 goal a season and on a slot?
Yeah, it's not just that as well. I have very little doubts, no reservations that Mo Salah will be exceptional this season. Like, that's just what he's done year in, year out, isn't it? By and large, he's gone through the odd spell here and there. The back end of last season was one of them, as you alluded to. He wasn't the Mo Salah that we know and love. But my doubts don't really come from what will Mo be like. It's more, can we really head into the season asking Mo to do it week in, week out, 90 minutes? That's 3 times a week at times. You know, there's more Champions League games than ever now, you know, and we might get tough draws in domestic cups. We might get a really difficult Champions League run. It just feels like we're creating our own problems. And Salah has been brilliant. And I said it before, he's been so durable, so consistent. He's just been an absolute godsend to the Liverpool Football Club. Let's have it right. Like, not only is brilliant, like I say, that availability has just been exceptional, but he's another year older. We've just seen him come off the back of his first real injury problems at Liverpool. I think if we are genuinely heading into the season with all our hopes and dreams pinning on him being able to play every minute from right wing, that feels crazy to me. And as I mentioned earlier on, there aren't really any alternatives out there. Kay Gordon's a good player. I like Kay Gordon a lot. He needs a loan move away. All the talk is that Ben Doak could be getting a loan or even a permanent move away. And even without those two factored in, they're not ready to be Mo Salah's understudy. They're not ready to be Mo Salah's successor. Like, really talented players, the pair of them, got a lot of time for them both. But I think they're 19 and 20 respectively, maybe even 18 and 20 respectively. Like, they're miles off it. We need that guy in the middle to bridge that gap with 23, 24, which we currently don't own. And again, to me, the solution isn't Diaz over there. It isn't Jota over there. definitely isn't Gakpo over there. So yeah, I think Salah's brilliance isn't in question here for this season. I just think we need to be a lot more careful with how we manage him, and that is get him off on the hour mark. If the game's won, take him off. Rest him in this game, bring him into that sort of stuff. Just work with him a little bit better. The Mo Salah that we can just say, yeah, off you go, Mo, you play. And even at times, it felt like Salah should have rested in certain games, and he just played. He played 90 minutes and he was boss. Even last season, a little bit, those Europa League games. I remember one, I think it was the last away, and it was won. It was done and dusted. And he comes on for the last 20. I think he scores twice, something mad, like just unnecessary. But it's great, and we laugh about it now. But to keep
towards the back end of the season, we suffered massively off
exactly, and to keep him at his best, not just in terms of his fitness, but to actually keep him being Mo Salah, we might just have to be a bit more clever with him. And at the minute, that feels like it's difficult to do because we don't have the guy to be clever with, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, it does, 100%. I think, and again, you look on the market, it's a bit hard as well for Arne Slot to go, okay, you're going to be joining Liverpool, but you're also going to be behind Mo Salah for the season. And it's trying to sell that is, again, very difficult in many aspects. Again, joining Liverpool is, joining Liverpool, but being, maybe fifth choice striker or fifth choice forward, I should say, is a bit different compared to starting as well. But you did mention, of course, when we spoke about gaping holes in the squad in terms of the number 6. Now, we all know what's happened over the last 2 weeks or week with missing out on 𝗧𝗿𝗃𝗃, and of course the outrage after that. But of course, we all know the gaping hole in Liverpool's team is the 6. I think every Liverpool supporter can again say that is the main key area that Liverpool need to improve on. And of course, obviously, what's come out of the football club or latest journalist is that again, Liverpool, it was all or nothing in terms of 𝗧𝗿𝗃𝗃. But what's your thoughts on the 6th position? Obviously, going into the weekend, we've got Ryan Gravenberch, who looks like he's going to be the 6 against Ipswich. But again, I think everyone is screaming out, go and sign someone. And again, we would all like to, but it's also what's come out of the football club is we want somebody who's going to take us to that top level. Do you think that there is an alternative out there that, again, that could be shouted out there? Or do you think that Liverpool are just going to wait now until maybe next season? And if there is somebody who's even bigger in terms of, again, more, what's the right word? The more suited then to Arne Slot's system, do you think Liverpool will just wait until then? Or do you think there is somebody in the pipeline, in your opinion?
I think and hope there is somebody in the pipeline, truth be told. And it's an interesting one, really. It's a very interesting one, actually. I think Martin 𝗧𝗿𝗃𝗃 was clearly, identified as being the perfect solution, if you like, to what this 6th dilemma is. Now, the 6th dilemma has been going on for 24 months now, I want to say.
Since
maybe even
Fabinho's
longer.
gone.
Yeah, obviously Fabinho. But Fabinho had gone before we'd gone, I always say. His legs went before the body went, literally from Anfield, if you like. And I love Fabinho. We all love Fabinho. He was superb, wasn't he? But let's be honest with you, that last season was miles off it.
Dreadful.
Yeah. And again, it sounds harsh, but it was. It's the reality of the situation. He's blown a gasket, hasn't he, at some point under Jurgen Klopp. Like so many that have gone before him, and we might see a few more come. Yeah, obviously, he got so much out of his players. He just sat every last bit of energy, certainly out of Fabinho. So, yeah, I think that has been a problem position now for Liverpool for quite some time. Obviously, we've had a few goes at it. We've had Tchouaméni, we've had Lavia, we've had Caicedo. Obviously, we've had 𝗧𝗿𝗃𝗃𝗃 to a lesser extent. Now, there's Arne Slot, 6 defensive midfielder, deep line playmaker, whatever you want to call it, is a very different style to one that Jurgen Klopp needed. That's obvious. Doesn't mean it's any less of a priority, and it doesn't mean Liverpool shouldn't be addressing it, because for me, the 𝗧𝗿𝗃𝗃𝗃 thing, and I've said this a couple of times on various shows, 𝗧𝗿𝗃𝗃𝗃 thing was obviously a shame. It was obviously a blow. I think most of us got bought into the idea of him coming. We all love the fact that he might have chosen us when he's turned down Man United, Bayern Munich, said that was boss, whatever. We could all have a good laugh at that. But the fact he doesn't come because he's loyal, there's not much of that in football, by the way, so kind of credit to him for it in a way. But that's fine. I can make peace with that. I can come to terms with that. One-man club sounds, you enjoy your career, enjoy the Basque Country, enjoy the tapas, enjoy the mountains, without being too flippant about it, whatever. But the follow-up reporting from that being that Liverpool don't have an alternative, and the number 6 search for this summer, at least, is kind of done and dusted, That's the bit I can't come to terms with, because Liverpool, for my money, the 𝗧𝗿𝗃𝗃 thing wasn't because 𝗧𝗿𝗃𝗃 was a special case. It was because Arne Slot needs someone to play in that position, and he doesn't feel like he's got the perfect options at his disposal right now. And I make him right on that as well. Like you said, Gravenberch a moment ago. I really like Ryan Gravenberch, but is he the man for that? Possibly, but right now I'd be saying no. We've seen him do it for an hour against Sevilla. I thought he was really good, but against a bang average Sevilla side, I think a lot of what Gravenberch has at his disposal does suit that role. But there's some big question marks about it as well. Like, is he defensive minded enough? Like, the risk reward with his repertoire of play, if you like, his passing range is extreme. And I know Slot likes a little bit that, but in that position, it feels a little bit 𝗟𝗶𝘃𝗃𝗃𝗃 somewhat.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's similar to what I said with the right wing situation. Actually, we're sort of mending and making do with what we've got when we could be going out there. And for me, there are so many different options who we could just say, okay, you're not as perfect as 𝗧𝗿𝗃𝗃 was. You might not be the ideal candidate for the role, but no one draws up a shortlist of one person. It just doesn't exist. 𝗧𝗿𝗃𝗃 wasn't such a special case. He wasn't Virgil van Dijk. He wasn't Alisson Becker. He's not the one you put all your eggs into that basket and you go, if it's not you, it's nobody. I think he's a very good player, 𝗧𝗿𝗃𝗃, very, very good. But he wasn't that needle moving that it was him or nothing for me. And listen, I'm not Richard Hughes. I'm not Julian Ward, Michael Edwards, etc. But I just don't believe that's the case. And the fact that we've gone about it in that way feels really strange to me. I can't put my finger on as to why. And I know we've got a good squad, and we have a good squad, but it's not a squad for me right now, especially when you consider the amount of football. I've said this a few times as well this week, so forgive me, but like I stood. People talk about what Virgil van Dijk said at the doubleheader pre-season games at Anfield, and he did. He stood there and said, "We need to make signings because of the amount of football." Like, and he's right. He's right. I've already referenced it a couple of times. There's loads of footy going to be played this season. We've seen Arne Slot doesn't really fancy 𝗏𝗏𝗏 in that position, and I think that's fair enough for the type of player that he wants. So, what does his role look like at the club this season? I'm not sure. Tyler Morton. No, good player, but is he going to take us that next level? Don't know. Like 𝗧𝗏𝗃𝗃𝗃, I love 𝗧𝗏𝗃𝗃𝗃, but let's be honest, he looks like he could do with that loan move away. Like he needs some proper footy under his belt before he can be considered to be a star for Liverpool again, for my money. So I love all of those three, Gravenberch, 𝗏𝗃𝗃, Endo, etc., to just be boss and everything's fine. But as I sit here right now, I can't guarantee any of that. And I know there's no guarantees around signings. I'm not saying there are. But if we could identify 𝗧𝗿𝗃𝗃 as being an upgrade on what we've got and helping out as well in terms of the minute, in terms of the stress, etc., then there's another guy out there who can also do that for me, take some of the workload. Because the other thing to factor in, and I'm aware I'm talking a lot here, but the other thing to factor in with this midfield department is I went through it all the other day on one of our shows, and like, I love all of these individually, and I think they've all got loads of qualities, and I wouldn't be getting rid of any of them pretty much. But Curtis Jones has had injury problems. Ryan Gravenberch had injury problems last year. Dom Szoboszlai had injury problems last year. Like, we honestly just go to Alexis McAllister. I know you were half knackered last summer, but do you mind doing that again for us? Like, just feels silly to me, and it feels unnecessary when you consider there's clearly money to spend at Liverpool. We're about to spend 51 million on Martin 𝗧𝗏𝗃𝗃. There's still just over 2 weeks left of the transfer window, and there are more players in Europe than Martin 𝗧𝗏𝗃𝗃. Like, sorry to be so simplistic about it, but surely
there's someone.
There's another answer out there. I just can't square that. And then so you get the 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗃𝗃, fine. You get I can get on board with why that's happened. Like I say, whatever. But then you get no new six, and then you get 𝗏𝗏𝗃𝗃 might be allowed to leave on loan. Now I think he needs a loan, like I just said. But if we're not signing one, he can't go
Keep
anywhere.
him. Yeah, exactly.
Anywhere, simple as that. So yeah, it's a weird scenario we found ourselves in, and not one I'm particularly crazy on. Sure of. I don't know how to explain it. I don't understand it.
I think your reaction is literally the same as everyone. Again, I think the missing out on 𝗧𝗏𝗃𝗃 was never a problem. Let's say, like, it's frustrating that we didn't get him after, a whole week of, well, he's going to be joining, and then and
he's really good. So.
He's really good. They're having the debate, and then the whole reports coming out of, well, Sociedad are keeping, and doing a PowerPoint presentation on hills and tapas and like all of this stuff that was coming out. Again, it was very annoying, but it's that aftermath of it of, well, it was Zubimendi and that was it, like on our approach. Like, I can't believe that, and I don't think many other people do, where you've got, like, again, Zubimendi would have made a massive difference to the system and to how we would, again, think of a number 6. Again, he's not so much a destroyer like we've had with Fabinho. It's more, like Busquets. Busquets wasn't a complete destroyer. He was, like, again, a very good defensive midfielder, but he understand, and he had that IQ of a 6 where, again, it wasn't necessarily just run at the ball and then tackle him. Again, he knew what was going to happen 3 steps before it happened, and I think that's what Slot's looking for. And I think that's, again, where, there's plenty of players out there. And one thing, as you mentioned, where at the moment at the football club, we've already got the players like Wataru Endo still at the club. We've got Tyler Morton. If we did sign someone, in my opinion, and they wasn't quite to the higher level that the club think that they are, again, I don't see a problem where even next summer, if there isn't a player that comes around and the club think he's the guy that could turn us into competing in terms of like Rodri, Rice, things like this, I don't think it would be that bad signing someone this summer, because, again, he could then be that Endo person in the squad where, again, okay, he's going to be second choice DM, but again, then he's had a full year at the football club, he knows the system, could then someone be relied on. Do you feel like that's something that similar feeling, or is it something annoying again where we got to rely on, like you mentioned, Gravenberch, McAllister to last the season again?
No, I think you're right. Yeah, and I think, as you said, that I think anyone who came in now, let's say we were to sign this player that we're talking about, this conductor, this 6, it's 6 by number alone, as you say. He's going to play pretty much a double pivot alongside McAllister. It is that appreciation of the game, it's the understanding, it's the reading, the anticipation, as opposed to the actual out and out firefighter destroyer. So it is slightly different to what had gone before, as I mentioned earlier. But I think whoever that guy is now, and it was interesting. Obviously, I had a chat lined up already prior to Zubimendi nonsense. I was actually going to speak to this guy about Martin Zubimendi. Kevin Hatchard is a European football expert. He's boss, he's a great guy, speaks to him quite a lot. And he does commentary and all that from various different people. And you just know, honestly, I went into this conversation like a bit behind the scenes, just it was meant to be about Zubimendi, and then the night before, the Zubimendi stuff all got shot down. So we went into the chat. I didn't even tell him who I was going to ask him about, but I don't need to. I can literally name any footballer around Europe, and he'll have some form of opinion on it. He's brilliant, honestly. So the chat got mixed up, and instead of doing Zubimendi, we touched on him at the start, but I just named, I think it's 4 or 5 defensive midfielders who are similar to style and stylistically to what Zubimendi was. And he knew all about all of them, first and foremost. And I trust his opinion and his judgment quite a lot, Kev, because he is really good. And there was a couple of options. He was like, no, not him, not going to be the guy, isn't good enough, whatever. But then there's a couple more whereby he's a really interesting sort of candidate for that role. Alan Varela was one of them, and Angelo Stiller was the other one at Stuttgart. And albeit, like, Kevin has his opinions, and that's fine. And I haven't swallowed a laptop like Michael Edwards, Richard Hughes, etc. I haven't got all the data at my disposal. I'm aware of that. But if it takes us a 10-minute conversation, and there might be reasons why these guys aren't the perfect fit, don't get me wrong, but there's a plethora of other footballers out there than the 4 I mentioned to this fella. But straight away, you're getting the feedback, and you're getting the positive vibes back about footballers from a guy, again, who I believe, and when it comes to football terms, and he's saying, yeah, you know what, I can see how that would be a fit for Arne Slot's style. So immediately your mind goes, well, clearly there were options then. And the thing as well is that none of them, and whoever it was to be, if it was to happen between now and the end of the window, they're not going to be earth-shattering money. They're not going to be marquee signings, because we're not going to get Tchouaméni, you're not going to get 𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪, you're not going to get Rodri, you're not going to get Declan Rice. So all of them will probably be less than that £50 million mark that we were about to spend on Zubimendi. So you're right. Let's say we brought in a guy for what was Gravenberch last summer, 30 odd, was it?
38 mil.
Yeah. Let's say we spent that again between now and the end of the window on this 6.
Yeah.
Is it the end of the world from a Liverpool finance point of view if that doesn't work? Like, and I mean really work, if he isn't the star man? No, not necessarily, because next summer the star man might be available and he might cost you 80 million. and all of a sudden your 30 million guy just becomes the second choice, even your third choice, or whatever. It's not the sort of money that, given the revenues and given what Liverpool are these days, it's not the sort of money that's going to really impact. And that sounds so arrogant, but it's just true as well.
True.
Like if Bournemouth, to use them as an example, they're front and centre of everything we do at the minute, it feels like. If they were to spend nearly 40 million quid on a player, that's got to work. And I mean, it has to work. For Liverpool, we spent nearly 60 on Naby Keita, didn't we? Did that work? In moments, maybe. But did it really hurt them? Not really.
I say that, right? If anyone knows this channel, I loved Naby Keita.
So did I, but it didn't work, did it? He didn't play enough. It's simple. He was a great, wonderful talent, just didn't play enough. So again, I come back, and I'm not saying just spend money for spending money's sake. I don't believe that's true, but I also don't believe in standing still, and I also believe this squad requires an extra body, certainly in the midfield department, and that body should be a deep line midfielder. The problem is as well with all of this is not only am I saying that because that's my belief, but it's pretty clear that Liverpool think that as well. It's pretty clear that Arne Slot thinks that as well. Otherwise, why did we spend the week chasing Martin Zubimendi? So that's where I'm at with it. And as you can tell, I've been frustrated somewhat over the past week by what we're doing because I don't really understand it. And I want Liverpool to challenge in every single competition. And I think our chances of doing so would go up a lot if we sign someone Martin Zubimendi light, if you want.
Yeah, I think the other comment was, I can't remember who reported on it, but it was something to do with if this squad can get better with training. In some aspects, that can be true, but
it can. And just on that, and I'm totally on board with that. And I think Arne Slot will improve the players. And I've seen other people reference the injury record was really bad at times. If we can just address that, it's 𝗵𝗃 now in charge of that side of things, and I believe he will help stop that being a thing, and that's great. Keep Diogo Jota fit, better, great. Keep the key players fit, happy days. But I also saw people referencing Trey Nyoni. Now, I love Trey Nyoni. Like anyone who's seen me over the past 12 months will know how highly I think of that kid. Wonderful talent. I believe he is the real deal. But I seen a report the other day, and I'm not going to name the names because no need, but people are actually factoring him into this conversation around our midfield department. And listen, I would love nothing more than him to play 20 games this season and just be sensational. But
don't be relying on a kid.
You can't factor him in. You can't. And listen, again, I come back to it. He's brilliant, and I think he will be brilliant. And I have every faith because everything I've seen suggests he has got it. Whatever it is, he's got it. But you can't bring him into this conversation for me now because you just don't know.
No, I think watching him on the weekend was just looking at him, and I don't know why, but we look at Ryan Gravenberch now, and he has plenty of years to build, and obviously muscle and other things. But it's the same type of body type, and that's what's more scary. Where again, I think Gravenberch has another level to his time at Liverpool, but I think Trey Nyoni's got another 3 or 4 before he's finished.
He honestly, he's a joy to watch. Is the best way to describe him. I've seen a lot of him when he first come into the club last summer at the 18s, and he just looked a cut above. He was 16 years of age, and he just looked a cut above. And he's not big. Of course, he's not big. He's 17, but it's the way he takes up such clever positions. It's the way he manoeuvres his body, the way he manoeuvres the ball. Like he just leaves people looking silly. Time and time again. It's not by dribbling. It's similar to, you mentioned Gravenberch today, you're right, he does it in a very similar way. It's got a bit of Thiago about it as well. Thiago is one of the best footballers I've ever seen. So it's a long, long way off that yet. But in terms of the use of the body, in terms of, like I say, the way he just turns out of trouble seamlessly, it's just, honestly, he's just lovely, lovely to watch. But again, he's 17. Like, my word, if we're putting any pressure or any sort of hopes on him at some point this season, coming in, doing the job, I'd love him to, but is it realistic? Is it likely? You'd have to say no.
No, 100%. Well, speaking of young players, obviously Bobby Clark moving to Salzburg, a bit of a weird one, in my opinion. Like, again, obviously Liverpool getting 10 million for him. I know, I think even last night, I think I mentioned on here that for me, it seems a bit cheap considering Man City players or Man City youth players have gone for 15-20 million pounds. Again, obviously he's going to a place that, again, the manager knows him quite well in terms of Pep Lijnders. But what was your reaction in terms of Bobby Clark leaving the football club? Because I think the whole perception, obviously, of this summer has been Arne Slot's going to look at every player. Of course, he didn't go to the USA tour, which again then was obviously making more rumors about him. I think Jayden Danns as well didn't go with the back problem, obviously speaking on more in terms of transfers. But it's, for me, I think it's a bit sad because I thought last year he was very, very good. But of course, it's that difference maker of terms of manager, in terms of, again, for Jurgen Klopp, seemed like he was a part of the plans. Arne Slot thinks a bit differently. But what's your thoughts on Bobby Clark going to Salzburg for 10 mil?
Yeah, I'm a bit gutted, if I'm honest. In terms of the fee, I'll address that first. I mean, yeah, I know Liverpool have got a first refusal on him, so whatever anybody else bids in the future, Liverpool will be able to match that and get him, which is nice. That's something, I guess, because I think we have to put some sort of clause in there to potentially bring him back to the club because he's such a talented footballer. I think what disappoints me most about this one, as you said there as well, is that Klopp clearly fancied him. Arne Slot wanted to come in and see all the players before he made any judgment calls, and that's fine. Absolutely no problem with that whatsoever. I know it frustrated a lot of people early on in the summer, but you can understand why. The frustrations now come from the fact he's seen most of them and nothing's happened still, so that's a different conversation altogether. But he never saw Bobby Clark, as far as I'm aware, because he's going for his rehabilitation with a stress fracture or stress problem in his back, similar to Jayden Danns, actually. So I don't quite know where this decision has come from. Made the decision. Clearly, Pep Linders wanted him. Vito Matos as well over in Salzburg as well, of course. Clearly, they were desperate to get him over there. And I'll say this, like, the 10 million isn't needle moving money for Liverpool either. It's not like Salzburg have come down and put like 20 million and Liverpool's gone, God, that's a lot of money for Bobby Clark. Like, we've got to say that. It's just not the case. 10 million is a lot of money to you and I. It's not a lot of money to Liverpool Football Club. So, yeah, bit odd. I would have loaned him. I've said since the reports started emerging, really. He feels how Liverpool, by and large, I can't remember many youngsters, certainly not ones we've actually actively gone and signed from a different football club. We bought him from Newcastle, of course. He scored against 𝗟𝗵𝗃𝗃 last season, had real sort of interesting standout glimpses under Jurgen Klopp. There was a bit of pre-season stuff last year as well, which I thought was quite impressive in. And the Carabao Cup, of course, yeah, that's the other one. I'll break down for a second. But yeah, I don't remember us doing this and just selling a youngster without them going out on loan. Certainly not in sort of the recent memory. It feels like they've all at least had a chance to go and get some experience and see what happens thereafter. You might just be fattening them up for the permanent transfer eventually. We've seen a lot of that, but not to let Bobby Clark go on loan for a year is a bit mad. This felt like the perfect season for that. He could have gone to Salzburg on loan, worked in familiar surroundings with Linders and Matos and that continuity, and just continued his development because he has an injury problem. So it felt like he did need to get back on track a little bit, similar to 𝗏𝗏, as we spoke about earlier. So yeah, that's where the disappointment stems from for me. The fact that I'm not quite sure why we didn't go down that road instead of just saying hard and fast, we don't want you around the club anymore. And that sounds really harsh. That's kind of what's happened as well. And again, the first refusal thing is good. At least there is an option there to potentially bring him back one day. But yeah, I wouldn't have been selling him. I would have been loaning him because I think he's really good. And I think he's got a really bright future. So yeah, interesting. And not the decision I would have made.
Yeah, no, I think to your point, I think I'm just trying to think in my head. I think could you technically class Raheem Sterling as a youngster that we've sold?
Different, though, wasn't it? He was he was a different species altogether at that stage. And obviously, we all know hatred.
Yeah, what happened there? Yeah,
but yeah, I think his career has gone in such a way whereby it was a slightly different case. But your point is a salient one. But I just think I'm referring more to like even Joel Conser, Conor Bradley went on loan. Conor Bradley did a really good loan at Bolton, came back, kicked on from there. The rest is history. Obviously, Joel Conser, similar, Bristol Rovers. Harvey Elliott's the standout one in this. Obviously, had his loan spell at Blackburn, came back, and other than that bad leg injury, ankle injury he had, has never looked back either. So that felt to me more like how Bobby Clark's trajectory might go. He's had a few moments here and there, academy moments, first team moments, loan him out, get him 50 games in the Championship, bring him back, and then we'll kick on. But it's gone completely the opposite way, and I just didn't expect it, really.
No, it's well. We were saying that again, like somebody like a Fabio Carvalho, like the fuss that we, did to sign him, and then it's never really worked out. And obviously, him going to Brentford as well was a bit of a shocker, considering I think all of it happened in what was it in the space of 3 days. I think from coming back from the USA tour. Then there was talks of I think Wolves because obviously they sold Pedro Neto, and then all of a sudden then he's off to Brentford, and it's like, oh, okay, like that preseason worked well, didn't it? When we were speaking about maybe Carvalho being a potential backup for the forward line, but yeah, I think it's a shame that again because I think Bobby Clark. I go back to the game I think about for him is Forest away. I think that game when I think he was called upon was brilliant. And look, it is a shame, but like you said, I think it's a good thing from Liverpool that they've learned from other clubs that we've got the sell-on clause and we've also got first refusal, because if we didn't have that, then I think everyone would be thinking like, what are we playing at in that sense as well. But we'll move on anyway, and obviously speak more first team base, of course. Obviously, speaking more goalkeeper esque, I know that obviously a lot of talk about. Let's get the name right, Con. Giorgi Mamardashvili. There we go. I can say that correctly. Of course, looks like he's going to be joining Liverpool in 2025, but will be going to Bournemouth from Valencia for a season. Do you really get this one, Dan? Because long term, it makes a lot of sense. Of course, especially if Ali has maybe said something to the football club like, look, maybe I may feel different in a year's time, maybe a bit longer. But I think obviously this has been overshadowed a little bit, obviously due to the 𝗧𝗿 stuff. But what's your thoughts on this signing? Again, obviously not going to say I've watched him week in, week out. Obviously saw him a lot at the Euros. But what's your feeling on Mamardashvili? Do you like the aspect of Liverpool signing him?
Yeah, I do. I think that's quite smart. And it's interesting that I hadn't really thought about it like this, but you just said it's overshadowed by what's going on with the six, and you are right, it absolutely has been. Like, if anything, it's caused more anger, and I get it, because why? A, we don't need a goalkeeper now, and B, we're not even getting him now. So it doesn't make a lot of sense. It doesn't exactly placate the fan base, does it? It doesn't get the juices flowing, and I'm kind of with you. But had we have signed 𝗧𝗿 and then backed it up with this deal, I think we'd have been dancing in the streets, to be honest with you, because it is smart business. It genuinely is smart business. And it doesn't make up for what else has happened in the window for me personally. But yeah, I think obviously you just alluded to it there. I think there's a chance, I don't know whether this has happened, but there's a chance that 𝗟𝗿_Becker has given the nod to somebody at the club and says, listen, I'm not going anywhere this summer, but next summer you might have to start considering, if not next summer, the one after. I think that's almost certainly been the case, because I've seen a lot of people getting frustrated or questioning that element of it, being like, why are we bringing in this kid? Because 𝗟𝗿_Becker is the best in the world. He's only 31. Your goalkeepers go on until they're 38, 39, nigh on 40 sometimes. But that's fine if we knew we were going to have 𝗟𝗿_Becker until those years. But I don't think we will. Clearly, Brazilians, there's obviously people who point to various Brazilians that have stayed in the Premier League until they're much, much older. But there's also a tendency for them to go back home potentially and finish their careers there. And Thiago Silva's done that from Chelsea. I know he's 40, but still. And obviously, it's a Saudi attraction to this, of course, as well. And that's just not a monetary thing for Alisson. That is also a big part of it. But Bobby Firmino's over there, Fabinho's over there, so there will be a big lure to do that for him. I'm almost certain of it. So, yeah, I think Liverpool will be aware of 𝗟𝗿_Becker's situation, and will be future-proofing for that to happen, because I think Mamardashvili, from what I've seen, from what I've heard, he is sort of the next in line in terms of the best goalkeepers around. So getting one of them secured early is actually quite sensible for Liverpool, I would say that. And in a time where I'm not doing much sensible things, that's actually smart. And I think also, like Liverpool, I thought it was the same conversation with Kevin Hatchard. He said it would be a big coup for Liverpool with his words. And I think he's right, because there's going to come a time, maybe in the next 12, 18 months, whereby most big clubs around Europe need a replacement goalkeeper. Like Bayern Munich wanted him at one point. They're going to need to replace Manuel Neuer soon. Barcelona, Ter Stegen, perhaps. Obviously, City, Ederson. Who knows what happens there? I'm not sure Ortega's the answer. So a lot of them would have been looking at Mamardashvili. So if Liverpool do sign him for all intents and purposes, albeit with a stop off at Bournemouth, then yeah, that's good. It's smart. But again, I come back to it. It doesn't make up for what else is happening. So yeah, it's an interesting one. It's interesting. In isolation, Liverpool owning, in inverted commas, Giorgi Mamardashvili feels like a smart thing to do, because I think we won't have Alisson for too much longer. And Kevin Kelleher, listen, I thought Kevin Kelleher would have gone by now. I'll be dead honest with you. What is happening there? I do not know. Maybe he's had a similar conversation. Maybe he said, listen, I'll give you this season being the understudy to Alisson, but after that, I'm gone. I'm just gone. Yeah. So who knows?
To be fair, I think he's had that conversation the last 3 years, and
that's another point.
He's still not here. But no, I think I think you're right in that sense that Liverpool are they are fully having the best in class in that position. Like, how many years have we had at Liverpool where, look, we've had very bad goalkeepers at the football club. Like, that's not, again, I'm not going to name names, but we've had absolute,
problem for a while.
Yeah, but it is that, yeah, because again, I'm not going to say I've watched him week in, week out. Again, watched him at the Euros. I've seen obviously the clips and so on. But I think the best description I think in my head was like Courtois out of anything. Like,
he's as big as Courtois. Like,
yeah.
I know this sounds so simplistic to say again, but like, I think he's 6'6" and come out and saying like that's massive. Like, all goalies are massive, apart from Jordan Pickford. They're all massive, and Kepa was tiny as well, actually. But generally speaking, they're all around the 6'2", 6'3" mark. It's not often you get them smaller than that, but 6'6" is huge. And Courtois is similar. So you're right, but it's not just that; it's that mobility, it's that commanding of your area. I had question marks around his distribution and the stuff he does with his feet, and I actually asked Kevin about that, because again, he knows stuff. And he said it was good. It probably needs some improvement. But again, we're not signing him today to play tomorrow. It looks like we're signing him today to play in 12 longer. So yeah, he's got that bit of time to work on what he needs to work on, I guess. And who knows? Liverpool might be, in conversations with him all the time for the next 12 months if that does happen, speaking to the form of people and trying to get him up to a standard whereby he is ready to succeed 𝗟𝗪 Becker, which is not an easy thing to do.
No, absolutely not. I'm already having nightmares of him having an absolute blinder of a game against us at Anfield, similar to how Nick Pope always used to bloody do when he was at Burnley. But speaking more then, of course, not in terms of incomings, but of course, people are already at the football club. Of course, obviously contract talks. Obviously, Virgil van Dijk, I think after Sevilla, I think obviously, I know that a lot of people straight after the game interviewing Virgil van Dijk, and I think he echoed that, again, there's been no new contract talks in that sense, which have, again, I think even today, I think Paul Ghost mentioned that Trent doesn't want any contract talks in the media and so on. But sorry, Trent, we've got to talk about it. But it seems like, of course, we are frustrated in terms of the incomings at the moment. But for me, I want these lads signed to a new deal. I don't know about you as well. Then obviously Trent. Sorry, I think I went off then. Apologies. But I know I was like, why is everything gone black on my screen? No, but anyway, but we know that we want Trent and Virgil to sign on and so on. But for you, Dan, is it more, the longer it goes on, the more nervous you'll be about it? Because for me, I'm absolutely petrified that Trent's going to leave and Van Dijk's going to leave. Mo, I think it's a bit different because wages, including with that, and of course, the age of Mo. I say that Virgil's older, but what's your thoughts in terms of the contracts at Liverpool? Are you nervous yet about them leaving the football club, or is it just stay calm at the minute, and the longer it goes on, then I'll become more terrified of them leaving?
Yeah, I was calm about a month ago, maybe. It's hard not to consider it, and obviously Trent is the priority one for me. I've said that from day one since this became a problem, really. I'd be getting Trent tied down at all costs, almost at the expense of the other two, and that's not because I want Van Dijk and Salah to leave, because I just don't. But if it meant I had to throw an extra bit of cash, an extra bit of bonus, whatever, a Trent Alexander-Arnold, like, he's the future of this football club, like, he's the future captain of this football club. Like, Van Dijk and Salah are exceptional, but albeit I think they've still got at least 2-3 boss seasons in them at Liverpool and in the Premier League. their best prime years are behind them, let's be honest. And I'd love to be wrong on that as well, for what it's worth. I'd love them both to just absolutely exceed all their previous doings this time around, but is that likely? Probably not. Whereas Trent has all his best football ahead of him, and that's crazy because he's already completed the game at the, or certainly for domestic level anyway, he's already completed it at the age of 24, 25. So yeah, Trent will be the one. I will be bending over backwards, moving heaven and earth to get him secured to a Chelsea-length deal. Let's put it that way. 8-9 years, you name it, Trent, you've got it. And yeah, it's hard not to be nervous about it as well, because what is it, 15th of August right now? He's only, what's that? My maths is letting me down. 3 and a bit months before you can start talking to foreign clubs about a free move. And we know there's going to be, listen, it won't be Real Madrid. Any European club worth their salt will be looking at Trent Alexander-Arnold on the free transfer. You'd be crazy not to. The likelihood is it will be Real Madrid. They'll be front of the queue. But yeah, the longer it goes on, the more nervous we get. And that's the same for all 3 of these players, because losing any of them for free, when you consider Liverpool's much divided, much polarising buy to sell to buy model, allowing players of this calibre into the situation is really poor. Let's get it right. You know, it wasn't on Richard Hughes' watch, so we can't blame him. He took over the mantle for the last 2 months. And listen, he should have had it sorted. In an ideal world, he would have had it sorted. That'd have been the first thing he did 6 weeks ago, whatever. But he hasn't. It should never have got to this anyway. It should have been dealt with 12 months ago. Yeah, more if you like. So yeah, it's really poor, really poor. But yeah, allowing any of them to walk away for nothing is crazy, because if we sold Mo Salah this summer, if Mo Salah's already told Liverpool that he's not going to sign a new deal, there's a genuine conversation there around selling him, and it's not one that I like. It's not one that I particularly enjoy having, but it just is. Because if Saudi Arabian clubs were coming in again like they did last summer with 120, 150 million, and he's going to walk away for free, you'd be foolish not to at least consider it. And I don't want to sell him. I don't want him to go. He's brilliant. But the way we run our football club, whether we like it or we don't, and let's be honest, half of us don't, that's what we do. And if that sort of money's on the table for somebody who you're going to lose for free, you've got to consider it. And the same can be said for Virgil van Dijk in a similar ilk. So, yeah, losing any of those 2 free is just unthinkable for me. It's absolutely unthinkable. But I think, as we sit here today, I think there's a strong possibility we lose at least one of them for free next summer. The other 2, I'd like to think we'll get them boxed. But again, come back to my first point on it, it's Trent at all costs for me. Trent at all costs. If we keep Trent and we do end up losing Van Dijk for free, and we end up losing Salah for free, you know, gutted. Absolutely gutted. Not just in terms of losing those as footballers, but in terms of what it means potentially to the purse strings further down the line. And it's crazy I've even got to think like that, but I do. But yeah, Trent just has to stay. You can't be seen to let somebody like him leave the football club. It's insanity.
Yeah, no, it is, and I think you said it there. You know, I think everyone at the minute is thinking that at least one of them goes. I think out of all of them, even though look, I don't want it, I think Mo Salah is the one most likely to leave, in my opinion. I think everyone. Yeah, like everyone thinks, of course, sign him to a new deal like now, please, Richard, as well. But I think, look, you are right in that sense as well. If you let Trent go, it would be catastrophic in terms of, again, you've got this obviously local lad coming through. He's in the prime years of his career now, or just entered the prime years of his career. And again, he's been so good before that as well. And again, you think about how, you know, similar to like how Steven Gerrard was in terms of, again, somebody who can, you know, put the team on his back in that sense. Liverpool have got a lot better in that time in terms of, again, we've now got a full group of lads that are very, very good at football. But it's something like I think he's spoken about openly, that again, he wants to become the captain. He wants to be the guy that, again, that can push the team forward to win trophies. And I think, look, if we didn't get him signed, that would be horrific in terms of, again, the future development in the squad as well.
Yeah, not just obviously from a playing standpoint, which is, you know, the prime objective of why you want to keep Trent Alexander-Arnold, but you just said it there, you know, the captaincy side of things, the fact that Liverpool would suddenly go from being a football club at the very, very top level in terms where it's ranked in world football. I'm not going to suggest for a minute losing one player means you suddenly nosedive down where you're like, yeah, it's just not true. But at the same time, if somebody of that caliber, that stature, a generational footballer like Trent would be allowed just to walk away, albeit to another absolute monster of a football club in Real Madrid, probably, it's not a good look. Like, what does it mean next time we want to go and try and sign a Jude Bellingham, which we clearly tried to do, 𝗟𝗵, who the next big thing in football? Like, that would take a little bit of catching up again if we just let local lads, heir to the throne and the captaincy, wonderful, wonderfully gifted footballer walk away. So even from an away from football, actual football matter side of things, optically, PR-wise, however you want to call it, it's all factors into it. Like, it would be a huge, huge damning blow on where Liverpool are at and what Liverpool are doing and how we're looking for the future not to allow, because I know they'll be trying, but to have Trent Alexander-Arnold walk away from the football club, because he should be, we spoke about Zubimendi earlier, he should be, and you said Gerrard, the one club man. He should never play for another football club other than Liverpool. It's in his veins. It's instilled in it. His dream, his Everest in footballing terms, was doing what he's done for Liverpool, and it should be to do that forever. So to have him not play for Liverpool it's unthinkable. It's unthinkable. And again, not just from a football point of view, but in terms of what it means in terms of Liverpool, it just doesn't sit well at all, does it?
No, absolutely not. And well, hopefully, Richard, if you are watching, please hurry up and sign into new contracts, because
I think you will. It's worth. I haven't said all that doomsday shit. And listen, I might just be too positive on this, and people may shout at me, but whatever. I'm still of the belief that Trent will sign. The other two, I was in that same conversation that you referenced about Van Dijk, saying he hasn't had any sort of contact or any conversations about his contract, and that's a little bit unsettling as well. But I just hope that that's because we're trying to box and Trent one first. I really do.
Well, I was walking home from the game on Saturday, and that comment came out, and I was like, I looked at it on my phone. I was like, "What on earth? Like, don't tell me that's true." Hopefully, Virgil's just playing with the media. Hopefully, about that anyway. But last thing we'll get on to then, of course, obviously the football is the week. Football's back in some sense in terms of the Premier League. Of course, Ipswich away. Thank God. We haven't got to talk majorly about transfers. We can actually talk about the boys playing on the field as well. Of course, Ipswich 12:30. Jurgen would have absolutely loved it if he was still with us in terms of 12:30. But how are you feeling going into the game? Because for me, look, we under previous managers, obviously, especially in my lifetime, it's been opening day has been bad and okay in that sense. Like, I think I was looking at it earlier on. I think I don't think any Liverpool manager since 2000 has won their opening game fixture. I don't know if that's true, but I don't know. It got this weird confidence feeling going into the new season. It might be because of Slot and how we've done in pre-season. But how are you feeling going into the season against Ipswich?
Yeah, I think they've seen the same stat as well. I think any new manager hasn't won their first opening game fixture, to be honest. Yeah, and listen, I hope Slot breaks that particular curse, of course. I feel okay about it. And it's a really interesting one, isn't it? You alluded to it there. Like, obviously, the transfers are a thing in itself. They're a different beast, actually. I like the cold face of it at times, front and centre, it feels like often as well. And I get as annoyed and as worked up about some of our actions as anybody. But then again, you come back to it, we're less than 48 hours away from actual football being back now, and that's boss. And ultimately, we'll do it because we like to see Liverpool play and like to see Liverpool win, and hopefully lift some silverware at the end of it. And getting back to that a little bit on the weekend will be blessed relief, I think it's fair to say. But in terms of the actual football, I've actually been really positive about it. And that's not to say I don't think we need to do stuff in the window still, because they go hand in hand. But I think Arne Slot's style has already started to show its teeth a little bit, and I think I like a lot of what he's trying to do. There's lots of Jurgen Klopp in it, of course. There's still that desire to attack and still that willingness to hurt teams and be ruthless and all that sort of stuff and get the ball back quickly and press high, and that's not left us. That was never likely to leave us, but that's been sort of mixed and combined with a more calm approach and a balance and an interesting sort of more possession-based style and all that sort of stuff. So it looks good. It looks good. And again, there's still going to be teething problems. I think a few of the games have had little errors in amongst them too. Even the the ones over the weekend in that double header. So it's not going to be perfect. We're not going to hit the ground running. I think Ipswich will be bang up for it as well, which is going to be interesting. But yeah, I think overall, I am feeling good about Liverpool and where we're at and what is possible.
Yeah.
Am I walking into it, glass half full, thinking we're going to beat everyone and going to win the lot? No, I'm just not, because I don't believe that's possible. But I think this is a season of, I don't hate using the word transition, reflection a little bit and just seeing where we're at. I think the squad still needs some fine-tuning. I'm fine with the whole quality over quantity thing. I'm fine with the threshold and the bar being so high. I don't want us to make signings for signing's sake, but this is a squad that is so well stocked now. It's almost too well stocked to let it slip. If you look at the spine, we've got Salah, you've got McAllister, brilliant, obviously Virgil van Dijk, Alisson Becker, brilliant. Like, you want to utilise them while you've got them. So therefore, fine-tuning it and just adding a little bit here and there would actually be really sensible. It doesn't need a massive overhaul. We did the massive overhaul last summer. So it would almost be a waste in many ways to allow these boss players not to have the best possible opportunity to win stuff. So yeah, I'm feeling good. I am feeling good. I think, Ipswich poses a threat. They pose a different type of challenge that we haven't really experienced before. We faced it a little bit last year with Luton at Kenilworth Road. It was a bit, oh God, here we go. Hopefully we can overcome that with this new way, this new identity. But yeah, I'm made up his back. I'm made up his back, let's put it that way. I'm looking forward to it. And I think we are a good football team still, and we still own very good players. So that's something to be positive about.
Yeah, 100%. And look, if we can just have one or two, it'll be a magical time to it, like you said, in terms of a squad. But no, I think many of us are looking forward to the season. Again, obviously, it's been a busy summer in terms of football because, again, we've been lucky, of course, obviously with Copa America, Euros, and of course the Olympics. But look, nothing beats watching Liverpool at 12:30 on a Saturday morning, which, look, will be absolutely fun, at least anyway. But we are going to leave it there for tonight, guys. Anyway, big thank you to you, Dan, for, of course, coming on as well. Thank you very much for coming on. Is anything new coming on, Redmen? Anything exciting to look out for?
Usual stuff, mate, usual stuff. I did an interview with Matt Holland, I will plug that, Ipswich Town legend. If anyone as old as me, 33, you'll remember Matt Holland very well. Proper Ipswich Town legend. I spoke to him about the Ipswich game, so please check it out. That'll be out on YouTube and all that stuff as well. So, but yeah, honestly, yeah. And also, I'll say this. If Liverpool get properly linked to any footballer between now and the end of the window, I promise you, I'll speak to as many people as humanly possible about that footballer, and I will never stop. If we sign him or not, I don't care. It's just what we do. So yeah, we'll have every base covered, and hopefully, we actually end up signing him. That's even better for us, trust me.
Yeah, no, 100%. But obviously, everyone should know the Redmen TV are. Go and subscribe over there. Go and obviously redmentv.com, I think it's called. Again, I me bloody promoting it. That's brilliant anyway. But yeah, no, exactly. But again, if you're on your own, Jay, of course, please hit the like button, hit the subscribe button as well. Of course, next week, like I said to you guys, we'll be having James Pearce on for a chat as well. So make sure you're looking forward to that anyway. But until next time, that's going to be it from me. I've been Connor from the Cop Council. We'll see you guys next week. Ta-ra.